5 years had passed since my husband died. For 5 straight years, every single month, without missing once, I sent $200 to my in-laws. It was money that felt heavier than rent, heavier than groceries, heavier than my own grief. Then one afternoon, the woman who lived on the floor below stopped me and said quietly, "Stop sending them money and check the security camera." The very next day, I did. What I saw on that footage froze the blood in my veins. The moment I turned off the engine of my old sedan at the base of the building, the air hit me, the stench of peeling plaster mixed with the sour rot of drains that hadn't been cleaned in decades. The brick apartment complex stood there like a tired old animal, worn down by 70 years of survival in the heart of Chicago, just as exhausted as the people slowly wasting away inside it. I parked my burgundy car near the corner, right where a faded splash of red paint marked the spot it had claimed for the past 5 years. It was the 5th of the month, payment day. My name is Keisha. I'm 32 years old, a widow. I stepped out of the car and adjusted my purse. My fingers instinctively brushed against the thick envelope tucked inside the lining. $200. To wealthy people, it was nothing. To me, it was nearly 1/6 of my monthly income. Milk for Malik, tutoring sessions, basketball league fees, things my son needed, things I gave up every month. 5 years ago, when Marcus decided to leave for oil field work in North Dakota, his parents drained their entire retirement fund, $12,000, every last cent. They handed it to him so he could chase a better future. The day Marcus died, his mother pointed her finger straight at me. "If it weren't for you," she said, "he wouldn't have left home. He'd still be alive. And now we're old and broke." That same day, she forced the responsibility onto my shoulders. I was to repay the entire amount, $200 a month for 5 years. I swallowed my pain and agreed. Not because I believed I owed them, but because I loved my husband and because I wanted peace while raising our son. 5 floors, no elevator. I started climbing. The stairwell felt like a vertical grave, narrow, dim, barely touched by sunlight that filtered through dirty glass panels in the shaft. Each step echoed sharply against cracked tiles. Clack, clack, clack. On the first floor, the superintendent always blasted his radio. On the second, the smell of burnt red beans spilled out from a shared kitchen. On the third, a young couple screamed at each other over rising electric bills. But the fourth floor was quiet, and the fifth, where my in-laws lived, felt completely detached from the rest of the building. I stopped on the landing, wiping sweat from my forehead. My chest felt tight. My heart pounded, not just from the climb, but from the unease that always crept in whenever I stood in front of that door. Apartment 504. An iron door painted a cheerful blue that felt cruelly out of place. I knocked 3 times, sharp, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. Silence. I knew they were home. They were always home. Elijah, my father-in-law, claimed arthritis kept him inside. Viola, my mother-in-law, constantly complained of dizziness and headaches. They lived like ghosts inside that 600-square-foot apartment, blinds shut, locks secure day and night. I knocked again, harder. "Mom, it's Keisha." Nearly a full minute passed before I heard the soft drag of slippers. The deadbolt slid back with a dry, brittle sound, like old bones cracking. The door opened only a few inches. Viola's face appeared, deeply wrinkled, permanently scowling. She was barely in her 60s, but looked decades older. Her eyes were sunken, surrounded by dark circles, always darting with suspicion, like she expected someone to steal something from her. She didn't remove the chain. "That you?" she asked flatly. "Yes, I brought this month's money." I forced a polite smile, though my face felt stiff. "Hand it over," she said. I pulled out the envelope and passed it through the narrow opening with both hands. "Here's the $200 for your medicine." Her thin, veined hand snatched it instantly. She didn't count it, didn't glance at it, just shoved it into her robe pocket like it was routine. Malik doing okay? She asked, still avoiding my eyes, glancing nervously towards the stairwell behind me. He's doing great, I said. He keeps asking about his grandparents. If you'd like, I can bring him by this weekend. I've almost finished paying everything off. Her expression darkened immediately. No, no. Your father's leg is acting up, and I've got a headache. A child makes too much noise. Then coldly, finishing the payments is your responsibility. Same excuse, every time. In 5 years, Malik had entered that apartment less than 5 times, and every visit ended within 15 minutes. All right, maybe another time, I said softly. Go now, she snapped. Standing in the draft will make you sick. She slammed the door shut. The bolt clicked. Final. Absolute. I stood there staring at the metal surface. No invitation, no kindness, not even a glass of water. I pressed my ear to the door, hoping to hear a voice, a television, anything alive. Nothing. Only silence. A silence so deep it felt like the apartment was a tomb. I finally turned away from the door and started down the stairs. The cold draft crawled up my spine, forcing me to pull my jacket tighter around me. My chest felt heavy, like something unseen was pressing down on it. Marcus, you left me with this burden. I'm almost done paying it off, so why do your parents still treat me and your son like strangers? The question echoed inside my head as I descended into the darker levels of the stairwell. What I didn't know was that at the exact moment I turned my back, a pair of eyes was watching me through a narrow gap in the blinds. Those eyes weren't weak or dull like an old man's. They were sharp, alert, calculating. I reached the courtyard feeling like I escaped a sealed underground room. The late afternoon sun filtered weakly through the tree branches, scattering pale yellow patches across the cracked concrete. The contrast was jarring. Children shouted as they played basketball. Women sat on benches snapping green beans, laughing, trading gossip. Life existed down here. I was halfway to my car when a firm, wrinkled hand wrapped around my wrist. Keisha, is that you, child? I jumped and turned. Miss Hattie. She used to be president of the Tenants Association years ago. Even in retirement, she carried authority like armor. She sat on a stone bench, fanning herself with a folded piece of cardboard, eyes narrowed as she studied me. Yes, Miss Hattie, it's me, I said politely. She didn't answer my greeting. Instead, she patted the bench beside her and pulled me down into a seat. Then she looked around carefully, making sure no one was listening. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You went upstairs again today, didn't you, to pay them? My stomach tightened. I nodded. Today was payment day. She clicked her tongue and shook her head, pity and fear mixing on her face. Poor child, working yourself to the bone for people who don't deserve it. Then she leaned closer, gripping my arm. Listen carefully. Next month, don't send them a single dollar. I stared at her, confused. Why would I do that? I only have 2 months left. It's the $12,000 Marcus borrowed. Her fingers tightened painfully. People around here say the dead don't always stay dead. A cold wave rushed through my body. What are you talking about? I whispered. Marcus died 5 years ago. We have the death certificate, his ashes. I'm not talking about ghosts, she cut in sharply. I'm talking about living, breathing people. She swallowed and lowered her voice even more. That apartment stays quiet all day, too quiet, but around 1 or 2 in the morning, you hear movement. My heart began to pound. One night, I couldn't sleep. I stepped out on my balcony for a cigarette and saw a man climbing toward the 5th floor. She looked straight into my eyes. He limped, left side, shoulder dipped slightly, just like Marcus after that motorcycle accident. I shook my head weakly. You must be mistaken. I'm old, she said firmly, not blind. He wore a cap pulled low and a face mask covering half his face. If he was a thief, he'd sneak around, but this man, he pulled out a key and unlocked the door like it belonged to him. My hands trembled. If you don't believe me, check for yourself. There's a security camera on the stairwell between the 4th and 5th floors. She released my arm and went back to fanning herself like she hadn't just shattered my reality. I walked to my car in a daze. Not dead. Walked with a limp. Used a key. Traffic roared around me, but I felt completely disconnected. Memories from the past 5 years began rearranging themselves in my mind. Viola's cold urgency for the money, the sealed windows in summer heat, the absolute silence inside that apartment. Who was the money really for? I nearly swerved into another car. "Mama, are you okay?" Malik asked, frightened. "I'm fine, baby, just tired." That night, after dinner and bedtime, I sat alone in front of my computer. I pulled out my budget notebook. Debt, $12,000. Paid, 58 months. Only 2 payments left. If Marcus was alive...
Out the door, oblivious to the storm about to hit our lives, I closed the apartment door behind him and felt the weight of 5 years press down again. Marcus had hidden in plain sight. Marcus had faked his death. Marcus had used me and my love for him as his personal ATM. I took a deep breath. Calm, focus, strategy. Dante arrived just after noon. He had scouted the hideout from a distance, noting entrances, exits, and routines. "You'll get one shot at this," he said. "We follow him inside tonight, but you confront him alone. I'll have cameras set outside, just in case." I nodded. I didn't need anyone else in the room with Marcus. Not for this. The day crawled by. I cleaned, organized, and rehearsed my confrontation in my head over and over. Every sentence, every reaction, every possible excuse he could make. I would be ready. Evening fell. The city hummed with the sounds of traffic, music, and distant sirens, but I felt removed, as if the entire world had narrowed to a single thread, the brownstone where Marcus waited. I parked across the street, heart pounding. Dante set up a small camera pointing at the doorway. "Once he steps out, I'll track him, but inside, you're on your own," he reminded me. I nodded and took a deep breath. Step 1, approach the door. Step 2, confront. Step 3, demand answers. The door creaked open. There he was, Marcus. Same jacket, same limp, same careless confidence. My stomach roiled. 5 years of grief, of sacrifice, of stolen mornings and sleepless nights, all funneled into this moment. I stepped forward. My voice was steady, controlled. "Marcus." He froze. Then a small, crooked smile appeared. "Keisha, you found me." "Found you?" I echoed. 5 years. 5 years you let me live in mourning. 5 years you let me pay your parents every single month. For what? A lie?" His smile faded. "It wasn't supposed to hurt you. I needed time, space. I had plans." "Plans?" I laughed bitterly. "Plans? You faked your death. You used your parents as accomplices. You let me struggle, my son struggle, and all along you were alive? How could you?" He shrugged, almost casually. "You're strong. I knew you'd manage. I never imagined you'd dig this deep." I felt my hands clench. Rage flared, hot and bright. "Marcus, look at me. Really look at me. I've given you everything, my money, my trust, my love, and you repaid me with deception. Tell me, why?" His eyes flickered, just for a moment, with a trace of guilt. "I wanted a fresh start. I couldn't face my failures back home. I thought if I disappeared, I could fix things and come back later." "Later?" I whispered, voice shaking. "You call 5 years later? Do you know what I've sacrificed? What I've given up? Every payment, every late night, every lonely hour, all for a ghost?" He looked away. The arrogance had vanished, replaced by a shadow of shame. I took a step closer. My voice was low, almost a growl. "You're going to fix this. You're going to make it right. You're going to face what you did to me, to Malik, to your parents, and you're going to explain every cent I sent, every dollar." Marcus swallowed hard. He knew he couldn't evade this. The evidence was undeniable. The videos, the withdrawals, the timing, all proof. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. Not for himself, but for the consequences of his own lies. I stood there, my chest tight, the anger simmering beneath a thin layer of control. This confrontation was the turning point. No more debts, no more lies, no more ghosts. Marcus had played his game. Now, the director of this story, the narrator of the next chapter, was me. The confrontation stretched for what felt like hours, though in reality it was only minutes. Marcus stood frozen, hands hanging limply at his sides, while I measured every word, every movement. "I want a full accounting," I said firmly. "Every dollar I sent, every gift, every extra payment, you will return it. You will face your parents, and you will answer for what you've done to my life and Malik's, and to your parents." He nodded, the weight of his lies pressing down on him like a boulder. I understand. I'll make it right." I didn't lower my guard. "You'll do more than words. You'll cooperate with Dante, with me, with anyone who needs to verify this. No more hiding, no more games. You're done pretending." Marcus swallowed, his lips pressed tight. For the first time in 5 years, the arrogance was gone. There was only the man who had faked his death, now trapped by the consequences of his own deception. I stepped back and took a deep breath. My mind was clear. The anger still burned, but it was now under control, focused, directed. I had the power. I had the proof, and I had the ability to reclaim what had been stolen from me. Later that evening, Dante and I went through the financial evidence. Every withdrawal Marcus had made, every cash advance, every suspicious transaction was recorded and backed up. The $14,000 I had poured into this fake debt was traced, verified, and documented. Marcus's parents reluctantly admitted they had colluded, using my love for their son against me. The full story was laid bare. Justice didn't come in the form of police or court, at least not yet, but it came in clarity, in exposure, and in reclaiming control. I no longer felt like a victim. I had taken back my life. That night, for the first time in years, I slept without the crushing weight of obligation. Malik laughed the next morning as he ran out to school, and I watched him, smiling, for real this time. The sun shone brighter, the air felt lighter, and the city seemed less harsh. Marcus would have to live with his choices, face his parents' anger, and rebuild the truth he had buried. I, meanwhile, would move forward, stronger, wiser, and free from the lies that had chained me for so long. I looked at the empty space on the shelf where Marcus's photo had once smiled. I didn't need to destroy it. It was already gone, replaced by resolve, by life, and by the knowledge that no one, not even the one I loved most, could take my future from me again. For Malik, for me, for the years I had survived.